Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to MrMatchat, episode 2, even though I'm not naming them episodically, it's actually just single. Anyway, this is a show in which Matthew, take a look at a game and just speak about it for, however long as I can continue speaking without resorting to useless dribble and fart noises. As you guys can probably tell this week is focusing on the game Dive Kick, and I feel like I'm going to be saying this most weeks, but if you haven't played this game, go out and play it. Dive Kick essentially Dive Kick is a 2-button fighting game. I'm somewhat late to this party, but this game still isn't that well known. When speaking with friends and stuff, they're like, Dive Kick, what's that? The game's main mechanics are in its name. I mean, literally, there's not a game that literally does what it says on the tin as well as Dive Kick. I mean, the naming department in this, the studios that created this game must have been like, okay, we need to think of a name. What do you do in this game? Well, you have 2 buttons, one dives, one kicks. So maybe jump leg. That's my shitey attempt at humor, but but essentially, like I said just then, 2-button game, dive and kick, and that's all you do. And they have a collection of different characters which jump at different heights, they kick different ways. But boiled down, it's a one-hit kill game, and it's just bloody mental. I mean, like, the simplicity behind it is 2 buttons. There's not many games that only use 2 buttons nowadays. I mean, you look at things back at like Donkey Kong or like Mario, which is just, jump and... Well, I suppose they had the fire flower as well, so there's a few. But the thing, like, it's even less mechanical sound than that. It's 2 buttons, dive and kick, extremely intense, because it gets to those stages in which you and your opponent are just jumping around each other and you're just waiting to land that kick. And with each character, it brings in different mechanics. But the core game is you just dive and kick and jump at each other. And I spoke about a little bit this in my Gone Home video, in which I said, does a game need mechanics to function? And obviously, for it to be that's the argument of what's a game against an interactive story. But Dive Kick is the mechanics of a fighting game boiled down to the extremes. I mean, the simplicity behind it of only having 2 buttons means it's somewhat universal, and they just build upon it. So, for example, there's a character whose ego is very big, for example, and each time you win, your head gets bigger, but you also get faster, and you can jump higher, and your kicks are faster. But then they've got an interesting mechanic in which if you get hit in the head, you're stunned for the next turn. And for a game that only has 2 buttons, they've actually added some level of complexity that if you just on pen and paper saying, okay, it's a game in which you dive and kick, which I think I'm going to be coming back to. I'm going to be saying 2-button game a lot. But I think there's like a deeper discussion here rather than just the simplicity of this game. It's the way I see it is somewhat of a parody of fighting games. I think that's how they've always sort of come across, and some of the characters reflect that in their design and things. But it's a parody, yet if you look at like professional fighting competitions, which they take the game very seriously, and it's all about combos, it's all about... Take all that away, you have a simply fighting game in which you just hit the other guy until their health bar goes away. But this game has that sort of tension in which it's one hit. That's all it takes, and you have the mechanics and ability to dodge, and the timings. And there are actually professional dive kick competitions with the dive kick controllers, which is, as you can expect, a controller with 2 buttons. And does this make this game, Dive Kick, any less renowned or recognizable as it does like to a tag team Tekken tournament? Obviously, with tag team Tekken and like, Street Fighter and games like that, to master those characters, and you have the whole like Super Smash Bros. Wombo combo and like the 3-part parry thing that makes everyone in the room go, Jesus Christ! But Dive Kick I've been having a few competitions around the and it's been picking up traction because it's a game that anyone can get into, but you can still master it. I mean, there are still talents and sort of characters that you can learn to. Each character has a different mechanic. They have, much like with Tekken, with the wood guy, I forget his name, and the internet's going to hate me for that, in which the character's moveset is random each round. There's characters in which they can actually kick vertically. There's my favourite character is Uncle Sensei, who, when he jumps, jumps once, he kicks with his hands, and then next time he jumps with his feet, so his second kick is always deadlier than his first, and you can try and catch people out that way. But I think it's somewhat clear that there is a heavier focus. I've gone a complete contrast from Gone Home last week, because whereas that was story focused and it sort of delved into exploration and narrative, this game is purely mechanics, and the story doesn't really. I mean, like I said, with some fighting games, it's not really in it for the story, just in it to punch people in the face. But I mean, there are examples in which games have done a story quite well. But no, I think part of me really, I as like a secret guilt thing, I really did enjoy the storyline in Dead or Alive. At which point, well, I mean, I enjoyed. Actually, saying I enjoyed Dead or Alive for the story is like saying I enjoy porn for the story. Well, not that DOA is porn, but it's. I mean, okay, I think we're getting slightly off topic. But what I'm trying to speak about mainly about Dive Kick is that maybe games need to take a step back. I think that's what we're suffering from a lot of. That's why games like the first-person generation shooters and sort of third-person cover-based shooters are becoming somewhat oversaturated, as we're sort of seeing with the sort of free-to-play model popping up and mobile games and Facebook games. I think there's a big focus on having features and having. I guess GTA is a good example of it done well, because GTA is pretty much a big chunk of everything. I mean, they've got so many mini games and features crammed into that thing, and I guess with the amount of money they threw at it and the amount of money they made, I guess it was all worthwhile. But there are other games in which it's becoming saturated because they're losing. Like I'm going to say the Assassin's Creed series, for example. Think about what it was like in the first Assassin's Creed game. That was okay. We need this guy dead. You repeat this thing for a few. I mean, they had a repetition issue, but at the core basic, it was assassinate this person and find out how. And that's sort of with Assassin's Creed 3, with the introduction of naval combat, and it's. I mean, like, you can't assassinate someone with a massive boat. I was about to say dick boat, but and I think we need to go back to the stage in which we need to stop, take a look, go right back to the simple mechanic. I mean, like, game. I think like there's what is it? I think it was like, what's the game? Tim Was Alone. Is it Tim Was Alone? In which it's a game just about shapes, and that had a really good narrative. But I mean, like, some of the best games over the recent years and things. Takes the first Portal. That is a game about shooting one portal and coming out somewhere else. That's the core. That is the core. And it's the same way that Dive Kick is a game about diving and kicking. They've built upon that with the characters and things like that. And too many games are trying to be a jack of all trades, a master of none sort of thing. And that's why I personally feel that Dive Kick is refreshing to see, because what I'm basically saying is there's not a lot stopping fighting games becoming like FIFA or Madden, in which there's yearly releases and there's not much. I mean, there's not much change. There needs to be. Every so often you need a game like Dive Kick to literally come in and everyone like Tekken, there's Dead or Alive, Street Fighter, all sitting around a table going, yes, and then Dive Kick comes in, fucking flips the table and goes like, you know what? Fuck you guys. This, I'm the new kid on the block. I'm interesting. And to see it getting such a good reception of what essentially is the... I don't know. I would like to see someone try this Dive Kick approach with another genre. Take first-person shooters. Take it down as much as possible. Like, melt it down. Just literally be like a shooter in which you shoot people. But I'm doing a bad example. I think I'm talking like retro games in which it's like recreations of Doom and maybe even like Half-Life, because the first Half-Life is a great example. Well, because essentially it was very new. It was when it first came out, and that sort of idea of a first-person shooter that, as the game went on, it introduced new mechanics. I mean, like, at its core, it was a first-person game. But you know, I can talk about the Half-Life series for long until I could talk about it until episode 3 comes out, and I would be an old ass bitch. But again, I think I'm only going to be talking about games on this series in which I think current game designers can learn something from, and something that I feel like I've learned from by playing it and seeing its impact on this year's generation. Because dive kick is new. I mean. But at its core, it is something that is so familiar that when you see dive kick, you know. Basically, it's that sort of like so unique yet not saturated to the point where, because dive kick could have essentially been another generic fighting game. It could have been like each character has move combos, they jump, they kick, but it's not. And that is essentially what makes it stand out. But as always, let me know what you guys think. I'm always open for comments, and if you think my opinion's a piece of shit, tell me. I mean, don't abuse me, but tell me nicely. But no, this has been MrMatchow. Thanks again for listening. I'll be again here next week. Don't get too excited. But as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!